Good morning, everybody. Hello and welcome to our panel discussion, Ready or Not, Preparing for AI in Media. I'm Leanne Tomlin, Global Marketing Director at Perifery, and I'm excited to be joined by Jason Perr, our CTO of M&E Solutions. So today we'll be exploring how AI is transforming the industry, from enhancing metadata and rediscovering content to optimizing workflows and globalizing media. Jason will share his experience on overcoming those challenges, using AI to boost efficiency, and taking a customized approach to adopting AI. And we'll also be providing some practical guidance and strategies for navigating your AI journey. So with that, let's dive straight in. So Jason, a recent industry survey conducted by Perifery Research in partnership with TVB Europe and TV Tech shows a lot of optimism for AI, with 85% of respondents believing that it will have a significant impact on the media and broadcast industry. At the same time, some organizations are taking a wait-and-see approach. From your perspective, what excites you the most about the potential of AI in media?
So there's a lot of different things to be excited about right now. I think that at the moment, we're already being able to do tremendous things through AI that we've never done before. I've worked in the space of media asset management for the better part of the past 12 years. And one of the biggest pain points historically has always been around metadata and just generating metadata. First, there's the problem of understanding what metadata fields to even have. People go out and you buy an asset management system, or someone brings an asset management system into an organization, and then you train everyone up. Someone comes up and says, okay, great. So now which fields do you want to put in? And people have a bunch of meetings, and then they come up with maybe 5 or 10 fields, and then no one ever fills them out because they're not even the right fields. So the first thing we do these days is we say, well, leverage AI throughout the whole process. Don't just wait to have something deployed. You can leverage AI to ask what fields you need. We have something, for example, I did on ChatGPT. That's an open GPT that anyone can actually access. You can just drag and drop a transcript of your videos, and it'll suggest, here's 10 different metadata fields or 20 different metadata fields and their associated prompts that could fill them out with valuable data, right? And then that's the next piece, is that today people can get a lot of difference in value in their workflows by having all of that metadata for all those fields filled out 100% of the time on every piece of content by having AI do it. And it's going to get that information from a transcript that it's going to generate from your videos, and what we call a visual transcript using vision models based on an understanding of what's happening visually. So it transforms the workflow significantly because we've been reliant on people watching content and manually logging and tagging content forever, pretty much. And now we can say, instead, you let the AI do all the tagging, and then people can come in, check and verify it, or just be able to start searching. So it makes it a much faster process and gives people the ability to leverage those media asset management systems far more than they've ever been able to do it before.
And so the survey also found that 69% of technology buyers view AI as a tool to free up employees' routine tasks.
Yep.
So for organizations looking to get started with AI, how can they assess their readiness and prioritize AI tools that will have the greatest impact on streamlining workflows and improving efficiency?
Yeah, so as far as being ready, one of the big things is taking small steps, right? You don't have to go out and spend hundreds of thousands of dollars. You don't have to build massive systems to do this anymore, right? You can take videos that you have right now, you can take images, you can take audio, and you can find systems online that you can start playing with some of these things. There's a lot of ways you can generate transcripts from a video. Take a transcript and run it through, online systems like ChatGPT or Claude or some of these other ones, to be able to see some of the results, to understand the value there. And then I think one of the big things that we're starting to see is we've had this push to cloud for, especially since kind of just before COVID, and then COVID made everyone push everything to cloud. And while there's some great things we can do in cloud, it's not always the best place for people to be doing AI. It's a great place to start because it's very low cost to get started and you can run a couple of things through. But if you have an asset library of 1 million historic assets, and you want to do something like process 20 different metadata prompts, that would be 20 individual calls to an AI system, processing an entire transcript, plus you want to do object recognition, plus you want to do vision, you can easily get to a point where you'd be spending $1 per asset running these things on the cloud, which is where then you need to start thinking about who's doing this stuff on-prem, and how can I maybe process things before I send them to cloud. Or in many cases, people are pulling their archives back from cloud or back from tape so you can house that archive on-prem again, because all of a sudden we have a whole new value of having things on-prem. So the first piece is figuring out what's the most important, where are you going to get the value, and how can you test things online. And then the second thing, in my opinion, is figuring out what systems can you use on-prem possibly to run these things so you can actually apply it at scale. Because if you only are running AI on that newest content, it's not going to help you actually understand your entire historic library. You want to get the value of being able to ask questions and search across all of your content, regardless of how someone might have tagged it 5 years ago or 10 years ago, or the fact that no one ever did tag it, and you just have a bunch of empty metadata fields. So,
yeah. So the survey also showed that 73% of respondents are looking to establish media tech vendors to embed AI into their existing products. From your perspective, how can organizations identify trusted vendors and collaborate effectively to develop these customized AI solutions?
Yeah, so I think the important thing there is vendors who have AI and really understand it and really have the power to do the things you need to do. Number one, should be able to show you demonstrations of it. But the key thing is a demonstration that's showing you an end result only isn't a demonstration, because there's way too many different factors there. You need to be able to see, how does this work with my content or with something very similar? If you're doing faith-based content, you want to see how it works with faith-based content. If you do long-form content and someone's showing demos of short pieces, you need to see, how does it work on long-form content? Because a lot of times the things that we take for granted that, oh, if it works over here, it'd work great over here, isn't necessarily the case. And there's a lot of companies, unfortunately, in this world of leading edge kind of technology that will tend to push the envelope, find something that works here, but it hasn't been tested in too many other places. So that's the one thing I think you'd be careful of. The other thing is open systems. It needs to be open. If you work with a company that has their own model, for example, that one model might be pretty good today, but 2 weeks from now, it might no longer be anywhere near as good as something else that gets released. So you want flexibility. The systems that we work with most, we ensure that, like everything that we do on the Perifery side of things, for example, we don't tell you this is the model you have to use. We don't build our own model, and we don't provide our own models. We say, no, you should have an open ecosystem where you bring whatever model you want, but we're going to make a recommendation, and we're going to say, hey, this is the top 3 object models. This is the top 3 models we use for doing creating transcripts or being able to do your general language model task. These are the best models for doing this kind of stuff. You need someone to help curate it, because at the end of the day, most people don't realize, but there's over 1 million open source, powerful AI models that you can access right now 100% for free. You don't want to go looking through 1 million models. So you need to have partners that understand that landscape and can help direct you and show you which models and which technologies are going to work best for your content and your business use case.
Yeah, it's really about understanding their media workflow.
Yes, understanding that workflow.
So in terms of maximizing AI benefits and justifying the investment, so the survey highlights that 44% of respondents believe AI will have the biggest impact on automated production of clips and highlights, and 33% on speech to text processes. Can you share a real world example where AI has helped an organization enhance their metadata, rediscover long forgotten content, or perhaps streamlined workflow processes in a way that's justified the investment?
Definitely. So one of the common kind of use cases that we come into, and someone we've worked with recently had, is they come to us and they say, hey, we have this library of content. They have about 2.5 petabytes of historic content. I think it was about between 3 to 4 million assets, right? Combination of images, video, documents, all sorts of stuff. The problem is, even though it was in another asset management system, they were migrating it out of system A and going into system B, and they noticed that they had 30, I think it was like 35 metadata fields. And when they started to run some analytics on it, they found that about 5% of the metadata fields across the whole system were actually filled out. And it's not an uncommon story. What tends to happen is when they first deployed this system, they did a bunch of training, they built all these fields. For the first 2 or 3 months, they maybe had 50% of that metadata getting filled out, but that was years ago. And now there's different people, and people have, quite frankly, other jobs. Very, very few organizations, zero that I've worked with, has that person who gets paid to enter metadata, right? It's always something that's in the way. And so they say, well, we have a real problem. We need to bring all this content across, but we don't even know what's valuable. We're buying storage. We're constantly increasing our footprint, and we're storing all this stuff because the business believes it's valuable. We spent money creating it, but we have no idea what we have. And part of the whole mission of this part of the organization is to find ways to remonetize this and sell it and distribute it and be able to get it out there so it can actually have a life beyond that initial creation. So we said, okay, great. Let's see what we can find with the AI. So we had AI generate a set of about 10 new metadata fields that were a lot more concise to their business and their use case of how they wanted to distribute it and who they wanted to sell it to. And then we ran a sample for them of about 200 clips. And we showed those results not to just the editors or the technical people, but to the salespeople, to the people who were responsible for finding ways to monetize this content and get it distributed. Then we said, how about this? We're going to take those same 10 metadata fields and we're going to add another 40 metadata fields. But those 40 metadata fields are going to be the same exact 10 metadata fields in 3 other languages, or 3 other languages. So it was a total of 40. So now you had all this metadata in 4 languages. And this is something that opened up a possibility for them to now say, hey, we've been talking about doing more global distribution of the content, and we have regional offices and people that work in different countries, but they've always struggled to find anything because no one could search. Now everyone can search in their own language. This opened up a massive ability for them to monetize this content globally, whereas historically it was almost all being done domestically. So opening up to a global market just by being able to tag that content effectively, make it searchable, and make it searchable in multiple languages. And I'll tell you, this stuff is the really, really easy stuff to do with AI. You don't even get into the stuff we can do when you talk to someone else that we had that makes vacuum cleaners. And with their vacuum cleaners, they said, well, we don't care that it's a vacuum cleaner. We need to know it's this model. We need to know it's that model. We need to know it's this model. With a custom object detection system now, it used to be that you needed a data scientist to build these things. We now have a way to be able to implement models from an online system that personally I went through and learned and trained about 1,000 images in about 2.5 hours. And the way you do that is because you only train 100 images, and then it will automatically guess at the other 900, and then you're just tweaking it. So these processes have all become a lot simpler to be able to actually leverage. So, but that was the best example we saw. Is they were able to take all that content, get it into multiple languages, have a ton of metadata to empower their sales organization and their marketing organization to now act much more globally with all the content they already had to open up new markets.
Thank you. And so the survey also shows that 61% of respondents believe AI will replace routine tasks, but only 18% will think it will impact on complex creative tasks. So how do you see AI assisting creative professionals in a way that enhances rather than replaces human creativity?
So it's one of the things people are always talking about. A lot of people are, fearful of, how many jobs this is going to replace, right? And there is a lot of places where it's going to replace things that people do. But right now, one of the biggest things is think about the people or the jobs that you have people doing that you don't want them to be doing, right? For example, you're spending all this money on editors and assistant editors to be doing what? To create the story, to make good product. But right now, you're wasting a ton of money paying those people to tag content and to be inefficiently searching through content for days to find stuff, and to be that person who has to be in the middle of your marketing teams and your sales teams when they want to find content. You're paying that editor or that assistant editor to go be a librarian. So let's eliminate the librarian job from the assistant editor, who you don't want to have that job in the first place. That's the first kind of jobs that are getting eliminated. The second, people worry about on the creative side of, people are doing all this video generation and image generation, and you can create all this stuff. Well, that stuff, I can tell you, a lot of people, a good friend of mine is a SAG actor, and he's, works with a lot of this stuff with all this contracts and all the stuff that they're doing. And there's a lot of concerns around extras and things like that. And I can say, all that stuff is coming. Being able to do things like placing extras in the background, 5 years from now, 3 years from now, it's very unlikely you're going to actually have people doing that and paying people to do it. Why? Because it just is going to be too easy. Some of that stuff is just coming whether we like it or not. On the other side, though, on the creating like new creative content, I think the exciting part of it is you're going to enable storytellers and the directors to be able to do things that they've never been able to do before. But it's not going to be creating a whole film from scratch anytime soon. What it is going to be is we have this great moment in a scene that happened here, and we have this great performance that these actors did, but there was a major continuity error. There was a continuity error that normally, historically, would force you to use a shot that didn't have as good of a performance. The AI could fix the continuity error. That part is a great way to utilize being able to actually generate whatever part of that video you needed to generate. We can feed in video, we can adjust certain portions of the video, and you can fix that someone did something with their right hand instead of their left hand. You can fix that it was the wrong kind of glass. Being able to do those fixes, those are the places where I think it's going to be really powerful.
So Jason, what's the one piece of advice that you would give any organization looking to begin their AI journey?
I think the biggest advice I can give right now is to get started. Get started with something. Even if it's just, going online and being able to submit a couple transcripts into ChatGPT and find out what kind of metadata fields you might be able to have that you might have never thought of before. Be able to find some prompts against some of those transcripts and see what kind of stuff you can get out of it. And then find partners that know how to make AI easy and simple to use, right? And that's what we do a lot on Perifery. We're pretty hard to find if you look to your left. So if you look to your left, we're right over here. So anyone who would like to know more, happy to talk. But what we do is be able to say, look, we're going to take AI, run it 100% on-prem in your facility, all secure. No one else is ever going to see your content. We're going to process that content, and then we're going to feed it into whatever systems you want to use. It's not you have to use our asset management system. We have a system called Vision that gives you visibility into all of it. But Vision's not even designed right now to be that system to overtake whatever MAM you have. The idea is you have a MAM system that maybe you have a MAM system that's charging you $20, $50, $100, or $200. Some of them charge $2,000 per user. That's great for that creative team who needs it. But what about the other 500 users in the organization who might want to just find something? We have a system called Vision that sits in front of it that can work with your other MAM to make sure all your creatives have everything they need where they need it. But then you also don't pay per user, so you can have everybody in the organization be able to find things. So doing something like that where you can have a low cost entry point to just get in and get started and get things tagged, I think makes all the difference in the world. And then you can expand out to feeding that data into whatever other system you need as you go. But start with some kind of small footprint of getting content tagged, understanding what's possible, understanding how you can search, and you'll see a lot of value.
Thanks, Jason, for sharing your insights. I think it's clear that AI has the power to reshape the M&E industry, from streamlining workflows to unlocking creative opportunities. So thank you very much.
Great.
Thank you,
everyone, for joining.
Thank you.
Take care.